Good afternoon and welcome to AP European History with Mr. Bowlby. Today we'll be discussing Chapter 24, Life in the Emerging Urban Society, Section 4, Science and Thought. As always, we'll be using the McKay, Hill, and Buckler text, 7th edition, and away we go. This chapter is all about life-changing things that are going on primarily for the everyday people. And Section 4 here starts out by talking about the triumph of science. And science has had a rocky road throughout history and throughout the previous chapters in your text, as far as whether it is the science and the scientific thought and scientific method that have been developed over time that people are really focusing on and getting something from, the constant battles between science and religion, holding things in check. And really this section shows you that we're at a period of time where science is triumphing and people are believing in it. It is not only that, but it's being used in a constructive way to help out society. And your text starts off by talking about a few things that are incredibly important. Okay, increasing practical benefits of science gave it more prestige. And your book starts off right away with thermodynamics, the relationship between heat and mechanical energy. And this leads us to the law of conservation energy. I would strongly recommend that you take a look at page 812 and read over that. But basically, the law of conservation energy held that different forms of energy, such as heat, electricity, and magnetism, could be converted, but neither created nor destroyed. Okay, so that is a law of conservation energy, meaning that the energy is always there and it can be converted and used more effectively. They talk about chemistry, advances in chemistry, specifically organic chemistry, and electricity. And two other important names for you to remember there: Mendeleev, who creates the periodic table, periodic law and table, organic chemistry-wise, and Faraday, who develops work in electromagnetism. Okay? Along with the triumph of science as we think it, was the development of new social sciences that use data collected by states to test theories. And the big name here, well, we've got a few big names, Freud, Darwin, but probably the least known of those is Auguste Comte. And he's a French philosopher. He writes a 6-volume Systems of Positive Philosophy, and he postulates that all intellectual activity progresses from predictable stages. Okay? Those stages are theological or fictitious, a necessary point of departure from human understanding, metaphysical or abstract, transitioning, and scientific or positive stages, fixed and definitive state. Okay. Social Darwinists such as Spencer applied Darwin's ideas to human affairs, and we now have this move forward in the social sciences being considered legitimate sciences. Changes in the conception of the universe, man and religion. Charles Darwin has a major impact during this period of time. And his impact is on the theory of evolution. He postulates that species change and survive because of chance, not a divinely ordained purpose. You can imagine that even during this time, when society has moved further away from the church, that this is still an extremely controversial issue. It is to this day. Okay? He believed nature is a struggle among organisms for survival. Life is not intended to be harmonious. AKA that constant saying, survival of the fittest. Darwin's theory challenged biblical accounts of creation, and this was something that was very controversial for people. Okay. What's next? Social Darwinism. Social Darwinism, okay, is something that was applied by a man in your text named Herbert Spencer. Okay? He postulates that the poor were ill-fated weak and the prosperous were chosen strong. Social Darwinism is used time and time again when in justification for colonizing Africa and other places during the scramble for colonies that's going to be coming up. Certain people are able to adapt and compete, and the poor just don't fit or try hard enough. Okay? And this was applying Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest, of biological evolution, directly to human society, something that is also still controversial to this day. Okay? Finally, your text spews out at you in the last little section for the realist movement in literature. Okay, the realist movement in literature reflects the ethos of European society. Okay, lots of things that were taboo, everyday life. This was an expression of writers who sought to depict life as it really was in its true and hard and fast form. Okay, realism stressed the hereditary and environmental determinants of human behavior, and then your text goes on to talk about realist authors, and it throws a bunch of them at you, and I'm just going to put a few up here for you. The realist movement kind of moves along with the Romantic movement, okay, and it happens from between the 1840s to 1890s. We are dealing with realism. Here's a list of the great realists that are mentioned. Émile Zola is French, and he is really considered the giant of the movement. Le Rougon-Macquart is his collective works, and then Germinal. Balzac and Flaubert are French. Balzac, The Human Comedy, and Flaubert, Madame Bovary. Marianne Evans, pen name George Eliot, who was British. The Middlemarch, A Study of Provincial Life. Hardy is British. Tess of d'Iberville. Tolstoy is Russian. War and Peace, that's perhaps the most recognizable text out of this. And then Dreiser, who is American, publishes Sister Carrie. So it would be good for you to take a look at those. It would be good for you to take a look at what those were about. But really, that realism, they were strict determinists and believed that human actions were caused by unalterable natural laws. Okay, this is where we get that, there's always that controversy or that trend to debate nature versus nurture, and I would have to say that most realists would side on with the idea of nature and how people were brought up, and those natural laws that went along with it. Okay. Everyday life, taboo subjects, the urban working class, those are all collectively things that these realist writers talked about. Okay, but we're definitely seeing big changes that are about to come and bring about eventually world war and a much more global nature to civilization and society.